Hi everyone. Today I'm joined by Chris Parkin, the founder of the Parkin Drawing Prize. Hi Chris, how you doing?
Very well, thank you.
That's good to hear. Chris, let's start with just the obvious. Why a drawing prize? Why did you set up a drawing prize?
I thought it was something that was actually lacking in the New Zealand art milieu, if you can use such a word. I'd spent quite a lot of time in Australia, and I'd always been an avid fan of the Dobell Prize for drawing there. And it did occur to me that it was one of the areas where there was no prize in New Zealand. And I thought, well, pretty easy to fix that. Let's create one and endow it with a prize and get it moving. So that's basically what I determined to do, and with the help of Warren Feeney, who was I think, the director of the Academy of Arts in Wellington at the time. We got it up and running, within a relatively short time, and here we are now, nearly 4 years later.
Right, and it's been meeting with some success, I understand, the prize
Yeah,
itself.
great.
Yeah. Okay, so now who are the judges, if you know, this year, and what are they looking for in the entries? And I understand they're actually looking at the original works, not online digital works, which makes it even more interesting. So why is all this?
Well, first of all, coming back to your last point, they are actually looking at digital works initially, and from that, the entry list, anywhere from sort of 400 to 800 entries, they actually cull those, and cull is probably not a very good word for art, but cull them into a sort of an exhibition size of somewhere between 80 and 100 works, and it's those 80 to 100 works that actually are physically looked at and examined and hung for exhibition, and then finally judged by the main judge. So that's the process. The judges, what are they looking for? We really need to go back a step to the way we select the judges. I try to change the judging panel partially each year, because I want to leaven it with new expertise, new interests, new biases, if you like. So each year, I guess collectively, the judges are looking for something different. I don't know what it is, but it's bound to be different from last year. And it's the same with the main judge that does the final selection. I took a leaf out of the Dobell Prize book and decided that we really needed a different judge each year. Otherwise, we would tend to get the same sorts of things coming through, and we would tend to develop a collection of works which had remarkable uniformity, where I was really looking for remarkable diversity. So that's the sort of background. As to the judges themselves, Dick Frizzell, who many people will know, is a very well-known New Zealand artist, and in fact was our lead judge last year. He's on the panel again. Warren Feeney, who I mentioned before, who helped me set up the Parkin Prize, now resident in Christchurch and very well known within the artistic community, especially in the South Island, but pretty widely throughout New Zealand. Judy Darrick, who's an Auckland-based artist, and many people will be familiar with her work. And lastly on the panel, Kelsey Tarator. Now, Kelsey's an interesting one. He's younger than the others. His whānau grew up with me in Otaki, went to school with me, so he's sort of the next generation on. So in a way, I suppose I have a particular interest in him and his work. I also sponsor a artist in resident program at one of the local high schools in Wellington, and Kelsey 2 years ago was the artist in residence, so I also know him through that. So and he's new on the panel, and I think his I guess younger look and the nature of the artistic practice that he's involved in will give us a sort of a bit of a variation in terms of the exhibition.
And you're not on the panel yourself?
No, I made it a policy right at the outset to keep well clear of it. I don't give any opinions at all as to what I'm looking for. It seems to me a panel of four people well respected in the artistic community can decide what's a drawing and what's not, and having decided that, which are the good ones and which are not so good. And then it seems to me then we're likely to get work of strong diversity. And I think too, we've got to expect that this is a competition not of delivering the predictable, but hopefully a bit edgy and delivering the unusual. And we certainly get that from time to time. I remember one entrant a couple of years ago was basically a bootlace tacked onto the wall. It's imaginative. It didn't win the main prize, but sort of reminds you of the sort of phrase, what is a drawing? A drawing is taking a line for a walk, and sort of things like that. So yeah, we try not to be too definitive, and I try not to be too involved. My job, as I see it, is to provide the prize money, which hopefully stimulates lots of artistic activity and leaves something for the country at the end of the day.
Now, it is a prize that's restricted to artists from New Zealand. Have you got any plans or intents to change that, to expand that to part of Asia, or are you happy with it being a domestic prize?
No, I think it's, I want it to be a uniquely New Zealand collection, and I think to have a uniquely New Zealand collection, we need to have uniquely New Zealand artists. And I kind of, from my observations, from traveling around the world and looking at art, spending a lot of time looking at art, apart from the, if you like, the top 1 or 2% of sort of well-known, very expensive auction room art, most countries have developed quite a unique artistic presence. And Australian art is not the same as New Zealand art, for example. If you have a look at a collection of Australian contemporary art, quite different from anything you'd get in New Zealand. And what I don't want is a sort of a world collection of drawings that doesn't really mean anything. The whole point of this exercise is to develop material that's very representative of us and our culture and our uniquely different way of life.
Okay. Excuse me. So the future of the prize, is there? Is it sort of has it got a time frame? I mean, many prizes are only around for 5 to 10 years, and then or as long as you're around. Or
seems to me you should always tempt fate. So I've made a point at the outset of saying that, look, provided I've still got the resources and I'm still alive, I want this to last for at least 20 years. So on that basis, I'll be sort of into my early 80s by then. And so it seems to me that by having a longer term objective like that, you give people a degree of certainty about it being around. And also I think that you have more chance of developing a fairly rewarding outcome at the end of the day. Too many of these things sort of start off with a hiss and a roar and last 3 years and then disappear. And there's not much left of them. And I think it's a bit like, the sort of Wallace collection, and the Wallace Art Prize, it's really added something very valuable in the total artistic scene in New Zealand. Now, I don't expect to do anything like that, but in my own little way, I think we can, I hope in 20 years' time to be able to lay claim to having established something that New Zealanders value.
And it's a acquisitive prize then?
It is an acquisitive prize, yes. Each year the price on the winner basically is $20,000, and we get to retain that. I usually buy some of the other works too if I particularly like them. And of course we have 10 highly commended prizes now too. I think there's sort of, if you like, 3 levels of recognition. The first is being selected for the exhibition itself. The second is, being highly commended in that exhibition, and then finally the supreme prize. And the nice thing, I guess, about this type of award is it's not like going to the Olympics. Most athletes probably only ever have one chance in their lifetime. Somebody can come back and back and back every year with an entry for this prize. The age is no limit, nor is fitness.
The finalist exhibition is held. Where's that held?
It's held in the Academy of Fine Arts down on Queen's Wharf in Wellington. It's actually a particularly good venue for an exhibition of that size, and it's very easily accessible from the city. And I've found working with the Academy to be a very straightforward process. There is an entry fee for each artist, and the Academy gets that, so that sort of helps their coffers a little. And they also get a commission on any works that sell during the exhibition. So hopefully that's, I mean, at the end of the day, you have to assume that most of the artists there, if not all of the artists there, would actually like to sell something. So they are all for sale, except for the one selected as the main prize.
And are sales good for the exhibitions, generally speaking?
Not as good as I'd like. I mean, I think that's one aspect of what we're doing that we don't do particularly well. I think we do sell a few on the opening night, mainly because, and they're incredibly reasonably priced. I mean, these are really good works of art, and often you're talking a few $100s at the most. It's not, it's not unaffordable. So, yeah, I think we could do a better job on that. I'd like to see at least half the exhibition sold. Some of the
Okay. Now, do you have the key dates at your fingertips?
The August the 2nd is the night, I believe, when we're announcing the prize winner, and that's also the opening night. Traditionally, we do that. We didn't last year, mainly for the other reasons, but yeah, that's the opening night, and that's also the night that we announce the prize, and that sort of tends to correspond with a little bit of publicity, and hopefully that tends to bring people along to the exhibition. And that exhibition runs for approximately a month, so it closes towards the end of August.
Excellent. Chris, thanks very much for your time.